If you're on food stamps, you have to reapply for your benefits again. That is according to a new rule by the Trump administration requiring all 42 million people on food stamps to apply for their benefits over again. This is being done to combat fraud and abuse in the food stamps program. And it doesn't matter that you have recently recertified your food stamp benefits, you are going to be required to do it again. I'm going to explain why. Plus, President Trump yesterday gave a new timeline on when he wants to send his $2,000 stimulus check. And he also provided an income limit on who qualifies for this stimulus. This was in the Oval Office yesterday. I want to bring you the details of this critical update. If you watch my previous video, I told you that my only I'll believe this stimulus if the president provides a timeline and who qualifies. And that's exactly what happens yesterday. So I'm going to bring you an update on that. My name is Kwame Kwade. I am a government benefits expert. For 15 years, I've been helping seniors get the retirement benefits they deserve. I create content on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and other personal finance topics that affect seniors and their retirement, their benefits, and finances. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. I am glad you're here. Do me a quick favor, go into the comments and let me know your city and your state, because I like to know where you guys are watching my broadcast from. And if you've been watching my channel for a while now, welcome back. I am glad you're here. And there is a lot to cover with food stamps and the $2,000 stimulus, where I have a critical update for you. So let's get started. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that the Trump administration is now requiring everybody on food stamps to reapply for their benefits. This may come as a shock to a lot of seniors and a lot of people on on food stamps, because you are already doing this. Every 6 months, some of you have to reapply for your benefits. Some of you are on a 24-month cycle. Some of you are on a 12-month cycle. But regardless, you have been reapplying for these benefits and recertifying your benefits. Some of you are actually in the process right now of recertifying your benefits. You probably submitted documents. You have probably scheduled an interview. So you are doing this. But now the administration says they want to do it all over again. Apparently, because they don't trust that the current system is working as it should and is weeding out fraud and abuse. And so they want to do it again. Now, there are several administrative problems with this, because with 42 million people on food stamps, now you're trying to do this again, and you probably have to arrange about 30 million interviews to get through all of this. It's going to be an administrative nightmare, but let's talk about it and explain why the administration wants to do this. So, all SNAP recipients required to reapply as Trump administration cracks down on fraud. Business as usual is over. Stolen benefits cost the government more than 102 million in the first quarter of 2025. So the government is saying that they're finding fraud, and so now they want to make sure that they take that out. So here is this. Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins said on Monday that the Trump administration will require all participants in the nation's...
Smell the coffee is more than just a saying. It's the new normal. Your wake-up call is freshly brewed on your schedule.
I have my own doubts about this, because I think that regardless of what you think, the SNAP program has one of the lowest fraud rates of any federal program. This is not me talking. This is the USDA's own Inspector General that does an investigation every year and comes up and says that there's less than 1% fraud every year. But let's talk about it. So their motivation is to stamp out fraud. It says recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which supports more than 40 million Americans, will need to demonstrate that their household still meets eligibility requirements to continue receiving benefits. Rollins said SNAP, meant to be a lifeline for low-income households,
I think there
was
are a
among the
couple of
first
important
priorities
factors
she
here, Maria.
targeted
The
for
first
review,
is this,
citing
that we
concerns
are
about
suffering
eligibility
from
and
the last
oversight. Business
administration's
as usual is over. The
literal
status quo is
war
no
on
more,
cattle.
Rawlings
If you
said during an
remember, they
interview
wanted to
on
reduce the
Morning
herd
with
sizes
Maria.
because they believe that cattle caused
And
climate
that was on
change.
Fox
I mean,
News. Rawlings
that
says she
wasn't that
ordered
long
states to
ago
share
that that
data
was
on
sort of a
recipients
common
shortly after
narrative.
taking
So
office in
lots and
February,
lots of issues there as we
describing the system as
rebuild the
rife with
herd based on the
fraud,
devastation
but
of the last
lacking hard
administration's policy. That's the
evidence. And
first
that's
thing.
what I want to
The second
emphasize.
thing is that there is no doubt, because of
It is
drought
similar
and
to
that
like
reason and
Doge,
others, that we
where they
are
came
at a
out and
low
said
herd
Social
size.
Security was
Now,
rife
you
with
marry
fraud
that to the
and
fact
that they
that
found all
we
these
have an
dead people
8%
receiving benefits.
increase in
And that
protein and
became a
beef
big headline,
demand
and they
in the
used that to
market. People
disrupt
want
a
more
lot of
beef.
the services in
It's
the Social
extremely
Security
healthy. And as
Administration,
Secretary Kennedy and
cut
I
a lot of
move toward
stuff,
releasing the new
introduced a lot of
dietary
things,
guidelines and
and then
pivoting
they did
a
not
lot of the
produce
food,
evidence
the government-run
to
food
show
supply
the
along the
millions and millions
USDA,
of fraud
you're
that
going
they
to
said
see
was
even
happening
more
in the
and
Social
more
Security
demand for
Administration.
beef. Then on top of
I think
that,
this is what's
we've got
happening
the
again.
screw worm south of the
Let me
border.
tell
So
you
our
why.
ports have been closed
Number
almost
one,
since
the
the late
SNAP
spring,
program
moving about a
has
million
a
head of cattle
redetermination period. So
across the
if you're
border of
working and
Mexico, New
receiving SNAP,
Mexico. So
you are
Texas, New
probably
Mexico, and Arizona
recertifying
from
every 6
Mexico.
months.
And
That
and
is
again,
number
you're in this
one.
perfect storm
Okay.
that we're
Number
in.
one,
But
it's
the
happening.
Trump
Number
administration
two,
has
if you make
released
more
a
than
plan.
$10,
We are
if your
moving toward
wage
opening
increase
up
more than
5 million
$10,
acres of
like
grazing
your
land. We're
salary,
obviously
your
at some
wages,
point
whatever,
soon going to
you
be
have to
reopening the
report that
borders. We've
income
got screw worm
to your
under
SNAP
control south of
office.
the border. Still a couple more things
So
before
that
we
is
get
also
there, but
another
we're
way to
getting
make sure that
close.
people who are
And the
eligible
president is
are,
hyper focused on this. So
continuing to be
our
eligible.
numbers and
So
our
even
formulas are
between the
showing that
time that
prices will
you
start
do your
coming down as soon as next
recertification,
spring
before your
and
next
certainly by summer
recertification,
and fall of
you
next
have
year.
to
Well,
report
thank you for
income
that
changes.
explanation.
You also have
That
to
was
report
very
household
good, and
changes.
of course
If let's say 5
understandable
people in
as
your
far as
household are
what's
getting
going on
SNAP
here.
and now it's
I think
4, or
meat right
somebody
now
moved
is
on
going
and
for
got a
about
job and is out of the
$6
house, you have
a
to report
pound.
those changes.
So
So there
we'll
are
see
things that are
about that
built into the
prediction.
system
But what about the
already
soybean
to do
purchases,
this.
Secretary? I mean, China
And
is now
states
reportedly
are required
slowing
to
the American
do
soybean
this
purchases.
and
Look,
report
they've
on
done
it.
this before.
And
But
the
President
inspector
Trump
general
had that
then
trade
does
truce with Xi
audits to make
Jinping,
sure that
and
it's
now we
being
see
complied
USDA
with.
data shows only
The
2
third thing is
purchases
that
bought in
if
6
you
weeks
are an
as China's
able-bodied
stockpile
adult and
surged to
you're
multi-year
working,
highs.
you're not
Brazil
working,
now supplying nearly
you can
80% of
only
the
get SNAP
imports.
benefits, food
Analysts say
stamps,
Beijing is using
for
soybeans as a
3 months
geopolitical bargaining chip
in a
as American
given
farmers wait
3-year
for the
period.
12 million tons China committed
Unless
to
you're working
buy by
20
year
hours a
end.
week,
The secretary, though,
or
told
in a
me that
job
he's
training
confident
program,
Beijing will honor the
or
promise.
you're
Watch
in
this.
school. So to
Are you
say that
expecting them
SNAP
to
is
resume the
ripe
purchases
with
of soybeans,
fraud
or are they going to double
is
cross us
a
on that as well?
giant misstatement, because that is not what's happening.
They've agreed for this buying
Secondly,
season to
one of
buy
the things that people talk
12
about is
million
that people are
tons,
using
25
SNAP
million
for
tons
things that they are not
for the
supposed to
for the
use it
next
for.
3
If
years
you go to the
after
grocery
that. So a
store,
total
the
of
SNAP
87
system that
million.
the grocery
And
stores have
then
signed up
we
for
have lots of other trade
automatically knows
agreements that
what is
call
SNAP
for
eligible and what
soybean
is not.
purchases.
So
I
you're not
do
going to go
believe it was
take a
very
cigarette and go and
unfortunate they
pay for
made
it with your
pawns
food
out
stamps. It's
of
not going to
our
happen.
great soybean
You know,
farmers.
you're not going to
But
take
we
something that
believe
is
that
not
we have
eligible
remedied that.
and
If
you're
you
going to
look,
just
prices of
pay for it with your
soybeans
food.
are
It's
way
not going
up.
to happen.
This
Now,
since
are there
the
people
meeting
in
in
smaller
Korea,
mom and
and
pop shops
I
that
think they
are
will honor
doing some
this.
things behind the deal,
So,
and they're getting
Secretary
food stamps
Rollins,
in
to be
exchange
fair,
for
Secretary
some products that they're
Bassett
not supposed to?
said
That
that the
happens,
deal's
but
not
it is
done yet,
on a
and
very,
that
very
they
tiny
should
scale,
have a signed
because
document by
the federal
Thanksgiving.
government
It
has been
could be
cracking
that
down
that's
on
why we
that.
see this
If
slow
you
walking. But what
Google
are your
SNAP
thoughts on
fraud
the
and
soybean
abuse,
purchase?
you'll find a lot of retailers that
You
have
know,
been arrested and jailed
I
for that.
certainly listened with interest, and I
So
talked to
my
Scott
point
a
is that
lot. He
to
is an
to
incredible
look at
leader
a
for this
program
administration.
that is helping 42 million people, including seniors and children. Remember, majority of people on food stamps are children and seniors. And then try to punish them because you have suspicion of abuse or fraud. And now you're about to disrupt the whole 42 million people and their life. And we've already gone through that during the pandemic, during the shutdown, where a lot of SNAP beneficiaries, where lives were disrupted because of bureaucracy. And now we're about to layer on top more bureaucracy. But let's read a little bit more on why they're trying to do this. So she added that, so far only 29 states have reported, and that there are 186,000 people, deceased individuals individual receiving benefits and 500,000 people receiving SNAP benefits in more than one state. And this is the thing that happened with Doge, is that they will state something like this and say, oh, 500,000 people receiving SNAP from more than one state. What happens typically is that people move, and when they move, their name is showing up in two places. before the system catches up. But it does not mean that they're getting SNAP in two places. That does not happen because the system is such that they are matching records, and if you move from one state to the other and you apply for food stamps in a new state, they are checking data back and forth. And here's the thing, you can go to jail for doing that. So a lot of this is like data that is lagging, things that are not happening in terms of record checking, like 189,000 people that are getting SNAP that are dead. Yes, the USDA checks with the Social Security Administration, and the states are required to do that. So there's some lagging data, and I'm not trying to defend it. There is fraud in food stamps, but it's a very, very small percentage, according to the USDA's own data. And so when I see large scale, broad strokes that SNAP is riddled with fraud, I reject that because the data that the government has provided themselves does not prove that. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, there was one thing that they said that, the president said in the Oval Office that more people are getting SNAP now because it happened under the previous administration. So I want to show you who is on SNAP and when. Okay, so let's do that. So there are 42 million people on SNAP. It hasn't budged since the president left office. The president left office in 2020, and if you look at 2024, it's the same number. It hasn't gone much dramatically. So, the money that's spent on SNAP, the federal spending has gone up because food is expensive and everything has gone up because of inflation. And so the money that is spent has gone up, but the number of people, which is the blue dotted line, has stayed pretty much flat. So the numbers have not increased dramatically about how many people are on food stamps. But in certain states, a huge percentage of people are on food stamps. The darker the color, the larger the amount of people on food stamps. So in a lot of the country, people depend on food stamps for nutrition, especially seniors and children. And so what can you do to make sure that you don't get caught up in this and lose your benefits? Number one, make sure that you have all your information ready. Make sure that you have your income information, and you have your deductions, and you have your household information updated right now. So if you haven't updated the government yet on your income, any changes that have happened to your household, your income, do it now. Update your address so that they have good information on you before they begin this process. Number two, get all your documents ready. Everything you're going to need to apply for food stamps, go back and make sure that you have all of that ready, because what they're going to do is that they're going to use bureaucracy to knock a lot of people off food stamp benefits, because if you miss a deadline, if you don't submit a particular document, they're going to use that to kick you off. Number three, make sure that you are using food stamps for what you are eligible for, and that if you are buying things that you shouldn't be buying with food stamps, it's going to be used as an excuse to ban you from the program, because they want to save money. I mean, as I showed you, the amount of money spent on food stamps has gone higher, even though, because of inflation, even though number of people have remained the same. And so the government is spending more. And you can see that has been coming down. So the amount of money they've been spending has been coming down. They want to bring it even further down. And so you want to make sure that you're not using food stamps for what is not supposed to be done. Number four, your income limit requirements. If you are not disclosing your income, you want to be careful with that, because that is one of the number one reasons why people get banned, that you are making more than you are claiming you are. And so you are getting benefits that you're not supposed to get. That is important. So you want to make sure that you are cleaning that up, because that is going to catch up to you. And then number five, probably one of the most important, is that when it comes to SNAP benefits, income and work history is important. Work requirements have been tightened up, And so you want to make sure that you are staying on top of the new work requirements. If you are able-bodied adult without children, you have to meet additional work requirements. If you have children older than 14, you have to meet additional work requirements. If your children are less than 14, there are wiggle rooms there about things that you have to comply with. If you're a senior citizen, there are new work requirements up to age 65. There is a lot that has changed in the last 12 months regarding work requirements. Make sure that you're complying and documenting your compliance, because that's all going to be used as an excuse to kick a lot of people off the food stamp program. So that is my spiel about food stamps. I want to make sure that you keep your benefits. And so make sure you follow the 5 things that I've shared and share this video with anybody that you think would benefit. Now, guys, if you want to stay on top of all these news and updates, there's a lot that has been happening over the last couple of months, and you want to stay updated, join thousands of seniors and others that are part of my text club, where I send you 1 or 2 text messages a week, letting you know about important news and updates. Like yesterday, when I sent a big update on Medicare premium increases that just came out. Text the word insider to 443-293-0080. You'll be added to my text list, and you'll begin receiving 1 or 2 messages about critical updates that you need to be aware of that can affect your finances, your benefits, and your retirement. All right, now let's talk about stimulus. So if you've been paying attention to my most recent video, I talked about the fact that, a lot of you were asking me, do I believe that there's going to be a stimulus check? And I told you that I don't believe it, because when the president wants something out of this Congress, he makes it a priority and he doesn't stop talking about it. And so if the president, you hear him begin to talk about the stimulus check a lot, then you know that he's serious about it. And that is when I am going to take it serious, because if he's not talking about it and it's just something that he brings up and then moves on to the next thing, then I don't trust it. Well, that has changed, because over the last 2 weeks, the president has talked about stimulus 2 different times and provided 2 different updates. So the first one is the president talked about how much of a stimulus you're going to get. So let me bring you that news right here. So it said, this was November the 9th. Trump is saying again that he wants to give $2,000 stimulus checks. That was November the 9th. And the president talked about it, that he wants to send $2,000 stimulus because of the record dividend, the record money they're claiming from the tariffs. So then the next question that people were asking was, okay, when is this going to happen? When are you sending the stimulus check? And so he was asked in the Oval Office yesterday, and that's the news I want to bring you, because that's the biggest update and the most substantial evidence that the president really wants to do this. So here it is. It says, Trump details timeline for 2020 direct payments. All right. So this was yesterday at the Oval Office. Reporters followed up with him. President Trump said that his proposed $2,000 tariff dividend payment to Americans are likely to come next year. We are going to be issuing dividends later on, somewhere prior to, probably the middle of next year. So he's saying before the middle of next year, or a little bit later than that. Thousands of dollars for individuals of moderate income, middle income, Trump said while speaking to reporters in the Oval Office. Why does this matter? Well, Trump has drawn attention to the revenue generated by his wide-ranging tariffs, which sparked global trade tensions earlier this year. And he mentioned the possibility of sending checks to seniors and those on Social Security and disability. Now, a lot of you have asked me, does this apply to seniors? And I said yes, because the president has said that this is going to be modeled after the 2000 stimulus check. And if you remember, that went to people, including seniors and those on disability and children. And they're not going to give stimulus checks to children and not give it to seniors and those on disability. And why do I know that? Because when this was proposed, originally when he proposed this stimulus check, it was supposed to be a $600 stimulus. And when the press release was sent by Senator Josh Hawley, who had drafted legislation This is what he said, and I want to read that to you. It said that they're going to provide a rebate to American families similar to the parameters of the direct payment passed by Congress in 2020. And then it says a family of 4 will get $2,400, and it's for adult and dependent child. So that has been the idea from the very beginning. And that is why I know that seniors are included, including seniors on Social Security and disability benefits. Excuse me. So, what is the timeline and who qualifies? Well, let's go back to that Newsweek article that I was reading earlier. So, the president said that, Trump has repeatedly floated the idea of giving Americans a check from the revenue of his tariffs, which he said on Monday have generated hundreds of millions of dollars. He has said that the checks will be given to lower and middle income Americans. Trump has not specified how those income brackets will be defined, though Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told Fox last week that they will be given to families making less than 100,000. So if you are getting less than 100,000, if your income is less than 100,000, you qualify for this stimulus check. So that is what I wanted to bring to you about the update on the stimulus. And then finally, let's talk about Medicare. So I have been sharing that I am on a mission to help 100,000 seniors get peace of mind about Medicare during this important open enrollment season. And my goal is to help you get peace of mind about Medicare. Why? Because I think that you have earned it. And if something that you've earned and paid into for years, you might as well get the full benefit out of it. And so a lot of you took my advice and called Chapter Medicare. And now I want to share some of the feedback that I've received, especially those of you on the fence that are not sure whether you should call Chapter or not. Let's read some of these reviews that have come back from people that have come back to my website, to YouTube, and are commenting and sharing their experience with Chapter. Here's the first one. I'm listening to your channel from Stockton, California. I want to thank you for recommending that we call Chapter during this open enrollment period. I called them and they have helped me choose a better plan. So now I am set for the new year. Thanks again. That's what I'm talking about, guys. That is peace of mind, knowing that you are all set and that if something happens, God forbid, your plan is going to be covering you the best way possible. Thank you very much for sharing Chapter information. This is another one. I called over the weekend and was able to register for a different Medicare Advantage plan, and that had all my doctors and covered medication. So here we go again. And then for those of you who are skeptical, here's another one. I just reviewed my Medicare through Chapter, and they told me I was on the best one for me already. That is what I talk about when I say peace of mind, because you want to know, is your plan the best plan for you? And Chapter has access to all 24,000 plans, so they can tell you. And the opinion is free and is unbiased. And so knowing that you're on the best plan then gives you that assurance that, hey, I am good. And that is what you owe yourself during this open enrollment season, to not blindly renew your benefits, but make sure that you check to make sure that it fits your needs and the coverage and the prescription coverage that you need. Here's another one. I think I already shared that one. Here's one. Thank I took your advice and I called Chapter. I signed up with Cigna. I previously had Humana. This was a better plan for me with Cigna. I signed up 10 days ago. Thank you for helping me. And I went in there and commented, that's great to hear. I am so glad the information was helpful for you. All right. And then let me read one more. Here's another one that saw my post in the comments and went ahead and took action. It says, thank you for commenting this information. I reached out to the number and they found me such a better plan for 2026. I just wanted to say thank you for helping those of us who are out there trying to figure things out. Have a blessed night. So guys, you're hearing it from people like you who are watching my channel and took my advice and called Chapter during this open enrollment season, which is about to close very soon, and now have the peace of mind that I'm talking about Medicare. So give them a call today. If you haven't already, the number is 539-205-2147, 539-205-2147. And if you want them to call you, if you rather have them call you, go to askchapter.org/insider. These guys are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. They can save you $1,100 on average on Medicare Advantage plans, especially given that Medicare cost is going up again. Any savings you can get is worth it. So give them a call today. I'll put the information in the comments and in the description to this video. So that's all I have for you today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you like what you heard, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with anybody that you think will benefit, especially the part about food stamps and the trouble that is about to happen and the confusion that is about to be generated by requiring all 42 million people to reapply for SNAP benefits. Thank you for watching.